A new perspective on the mind. A primer on consciousness and enlightenment 1. Debunking the time myth. Enlightenment in seconds. We must begin by dismantling the scaffolding of the time myth that traps the seeker in a cycle of endless waiting. The prevailing belief that enlightenment requires decades of arduous labor is a structural error in the aspirant's logic. Consider the narrative of King Janaka, who demanded to know if the truth could be realized in the span of time it takes to mount a horse. While scholars faltered, the Saint Astavakrar proved that this transition is instantaneous. Similarly, the grape seeds analogy illustrates a vital distinction. While a plant requires time to grow, the intellectual shift from seed consciousness to fruit realization requires no time at all. Enlightenment is not a progressive accumulation. It is an immediate structural collapse of the false. Myth-reality enlightenment requires decades of struggle. Enlightenment occurs instantaneously, often in seconds. It is a slow building experience. It is a sudden intellectual shift in understanding. You must earn liberation through years of effort. A wrong approach is the only delay. The result is immediate. Insight. Your approach is the only variable delaying the result. If you possess the basic intelligence required to read a storybook, you possess all the equipment necessary to realize the fruit of enlightenment right now. Now that we have cleared the debris of false timelines, we must examine the blueprint of the structure itself, the 3 layers of the human mind. 2. Mapping the 3 layers of the human mind. To architect a state of liberation, we must first map the consciousness we inhabit. The human mind is structured into 3 distinct functional strata. The conscious mind. This is the day-to-day processor. It is the output screen where we experience the immediate vibrations of joy, anger, fear, and boredom. The subconscious mind, the mental storehouse. This layer acts as the master, containing the blueprints of character, genetic inheritance, and automatic programming. It produces the thoughts and feelings that the conscious mind merely observes. The deeper conscious, the secret chamber. This is the realm of occult potential and spiritual excitements. Through specific practices, one can activate this layer to produce trances or extraordinary powers, though these remain within the mechanical field of the mind. Insight. The conscious mind is effectively the servant, a mere display for the vast automated storehouse of the subconscious. Mental harmony begins by recognizing this hierarchy. Now that we have mapped the 3-story structure of the mind, we must examine the biological wiring, the body consciousness that powers these rooms. 3. The physicality of emotion, mental versus physical consciousness. The distinction between mental and physical consciousness is a linguistic illusion. In the architecture of the human being, all consciousness is effectively body consciousness. It is an absolute law. If a mental feeling does not cause a specific chemical change in the nervous system, it is not a feeling at all. Fear, hatred, and joy are not abstract spiritual events. They are physical vibrations expressed through the brain and nerves. Insight. When you realize that mental agony is simply a temporary physical vibration in your wiring, you cease to view it as a spiritual flaw or a permanent sin. It is a biological event, nothing more. This physical infrastructure becomes the site of a structural failure we call the inner war, where the blueprint of perfection clashes with the mechanical reality of the robot. 4. The inner war, perfectionism versus the robot. Most human suffering is a product of a reaction to a reaction, a structural conflict between the mind's mechanical nature and its idealistic demands. 1. The automatic response. The subconscious functions like an automatic robot. It produces feelings, anger, sorrow, fear, spontaneously based on stored programming. 2. The theory of perfection. The conscious mind adopts an idealistic theory of perfection, often from scriptures. It judges the robot's output, deciding that certain feelings are bad or unholy. 3. The reaction to a reaction. The glue. When the conscious mind resists a feeling like sorrow, It creates a reaction to a reaction. This resistance acts as the confirmation of the pain. By fighting the feeling, you glue it into place, giving it the life and weight it needs to persist. Insight. Resisting a passing cloud of sorrow anchors it to your structure. The conflict ends not through more struggle, but through a total cessation of the demand for perfection. To end the war, we must move from the battlefield of effort to the precision of the intellect, the way of understanding. 5. Enlightenment as intellectual clarity. Enlightenment is frequently misidentified as a divine experience. In truth, it is a purely intellectual process, identical in nature to a student finally getting a math sum. Once the logic is clear, the problem ceases to exist. Spiritual experiences, enlightenment temporary. They arrive and fade. Permanent. Once seen, it cannot be unseen. Physical vibrations in the nerves. An intellectual clarity of the mind. Require constant practice to regain. Requires zero practice to retain. Limited by the body's capacity. A state of liberation from all states. Insight. Enlightenment is a change in track, not speed. You do not need a matured or special mind. The intelligence you use to navigate daily life is the only tool required to switch tracks. With the intellectual blueprint finalized, the work shifts from architectural design to the fluid maintenance of the flow. 6. The practice of non-resistance. The flower. True liberation is the transition from being a possessor, one who demands or rejects specific states, to being a flower. It is the act of allowing the I consciousness to remain as a natural flow while dissolving the artificial vicious circle of the possessor. Guidelines for the learner: accept the dirty pot. In the legend of the Saint Uthangar, the nectar of truth, Amirtha, was offered in a dirty mud pot and was rejected due to its outward appearance. Your ugly feelings, sorrow, anger, are that dirty pot. To reject the feeling is to reject the nectar of truth hidden within it. The multi-story building logic. Just as you might stand on a balcony and have a passing thought of jumping without ever executing it, you must learn that bad consciousness is harmless. It only becomes wrong if you try to execute a change through resistance. Dissolve the possessor. The possessor is nothing but a demand for a future state. I must be sorrow-free tomorrow. When you abandon the demand for a future consciousness, the possessor dissolves into a flower. Weightless paper metaphor. Ordinary thoughts are like weightless paper falling. We don't notice them. Sorrow only feels heavy because we catch it and hold it. Let it fall. Insight. Liberation is not the absence of bad feelings. It is the absolute freedom from the need to struggle against them. This clarity leads to the final confirmation of the structural shift. 7. Final confirmation and liberation. Liberation is not the attainment of a new room in the mind. It is the freedom from all attainments, including the pressure to be a perfected being. To confirm this structural shift, an aspirant must meet 4 criteria. 1. Earnest interest. A sincere drive for truth. 2. Basic familiarity. A general grasp of spiritual concepts. 3. An open mind. The willingness to dismantle old conclusions for reasonable new ones. 4. Optimism. The refusal to believe enlightenment is too far away. The architect's final secret. Purification follows liberation. It does not precede it. When the engine moves to the new track, the carriages, your character and habits may take time to follow, but the destination is already settled. You do not need to be pure to be free. You must be free to finally allow the process of purification to begin on its own. This primer is an invitation to take the final step. Confirmation of this understanding is the end of the journey.